Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today on the Galapagos Islands. One of the first questions I always get is why the Galapagos Islands? Well, we have Rotarians that have traveled everywhere in the world pretty much. We've had Rotarian that's traveled to Asia, Vietnam. We've had Rotarians that have been to South America, Patagonia, Machu Picchu. We've had a Rotarian's wife who went to Africa to examine birds. We've had guest speakers that have traveled to Indonesia and other places. On top of that, we have Rotary Youth Exchange. And I think one of the reasons we do is that we learn about the culture, the environment, the foods from each of the countries that these kids come from. So it's the same way with us. We travel to places to view different cultures, see different things. For my wife and I, we got interested in the Galapagos Islands, having seen a couple specials on the National Geographic Channel about the wildlife that was there. And when an opportunity came up for us to visit the Galapagos Islands last year, we decided to go ahead and give it a shot and see what it was like. Let me talk a little bit about the Galapagos Islands. They're basically 620 miles due west of Ecuador. They're a series of islands, and some are habited by the natives there, and most of them are not. Here's a quick little video that explains the overview of the Galapagos Islands.
This living laboratory of evolution helped to inspire Charles Darwin and continues to offer a unique opportunity to explore a pristine natural ecosystem. The Galapagos Islands are located 620 miles, or 1,000 kilometers, from the South American mainland, but a world apart from anywhere else on Earth. The archipelago and its surrounding waters, located where three ocean currents converge, are famed for the unique animal species found nowhere else on Earth, including marine iguanas, giant tortoises, flightless cormorants, and a diverse variety of finches. The islands have two airports, Isla Baltra and Isla San Cristobal, which are serviced by regular flights from mainland cities Quito and Guayaquil. As water temperatures change and seasons shift, different types of wildlife become more or less plentiful, so it's worth keeping a must-see species list in mind when planning your itinerary.
So it is indeed a world apart. It is just totally amazing. The Galapagos Islands are volcanic islands, each with its own unique set of animals. She mentioned it already. They were made famous in 1835 with the arrival of the HMS Beagle and world-renowned passenger Charles Darwin. It is here that Darwin developed the theory of microevolution. That means this change of species within a period of time. He observed the finches and other animals there, and that's how he developed his theory of microevolution. Whalers, though, flocked to the island in the 19th century, as well as pirates in the 17th and 18th century. They used it as a place of refuge and food. Giant tortoises were essentially all wiped out because of the pirates. Some species were. So it's very important that the environment be maintained. So in 1832, Ecuador claimed the islands, and they are doing their best, and they're doing a tremendous job of restoring the natural habitat to the islands. For example, one of the islands was overrun by goats brought in by pirates for food, and consequently there were so many of them it was eating the natural vegetation there and eliminating some of the natural wildlife. So they hired some hunters from Australia, and I believe they ended up shooting over 1,000 goats. So, and they're trying their best to restore each of the islands to its natural habitat. To get there from Colorado Springs or Denver, you have to fly into Quito. The only flights to the Galapagos Islands are from Quito and another smaller airport in Ecuador. So you can spend a couple days in Quito. It's a beautiful city. Country of Ecuador is totally amazing, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But basically, it's about an hour and a half flight from Quito to the island of Baltra, which is where we flew into. Now, there's quite a few islands out there, each with its own unique animals there. So you have to kind of pick where you want to go, just like the video said. One way to see a lot of the islands is via a cruise. I mean, you could fly into Baltra and then just hang out there, but you're not going to see all the wildlife. So a cruise is a great way to do that. The major cruise companies that go there are Celebrity, Viking, and I understand Seabourn just started going there too. There's also a lot of local companies, some out of Quito, that operate much smaller ships. In fact, you could actually fly into Baltra, and there are a lot of ships there, that boats, very small boats, that will take you around to some of the islands and let you, spend time there or whatever. By taking the major cruise lines, you've got your guides there. They're all official, certified guides that are allowed to operate and be on the islands, each of the islands. Like I said, we had the opportunity to go on the Celebrity Flora. It's a very unique ship. It was designed specifically for the Galapagos Islands. It will never be used anywhere else. It has no anchor. It uses small jets using GPS to keep it in position. Thereby it minimizes any damage to the environment, the local habitat, the seafloor, anything. They are very strict too about maintaining the purity of the islands, the pristine nature. Consequently, whenever you get on the boat, you have to go wash your shoes off and make sure you're not bringing anything aboard the ship that is foreign that can be tracked back to another island. Again, when you get on one of the Zodiacs, and that's how you get to and from the islands, the little motorized boat there, you also have to shower, rinse your shoes off and everything before you get on the Zodiac. They do not want you to bring or transfer anything to the island that is not native or natural there. So the other unique nature of the Celebrity Flora is they allow no plastics, no plastic bags, no plastic water bottles. They do not want plastic contaminating the islands or, of course, the ocean. As I said, you pull up in a Zodiac, the steps are there, you go up, and you immediately go to the right to rinse everything off. If you've been swimming or diving, you rinse your gear off there, and then you hang it up, and then you can proceed upstairs to your rooms or to the balcony to look out and watch the scenery. It's just really amazing. It's a small ship, holds 90 passengers is all, and it's very, very unique. So when you get in the Zodiac and then you go visit the islands, now you get to see the wildlife. And as the video said, they're home to seals, penguins, flightless cormorants, land iguanas, marine iguanas, albatross, boobies, frigate birds, on and on and on. There's just so much wildlife there, and there's no way that you can see it all, and you certainly wouldn't get bored with all the stuff. To highlight some of the wildlife there, the marine iguanas are up to 1 meter in length. The only species in the world is on Isabella Island. Land iguanas are on Fernandina Island. Penguins, because of the 3 currents that are there, one is very cold, comes from the Antarctic. We've got penguins at the Ecuador. And if you wonder, the temperature is right around in the 70s and 80s, so it's a very mild, comfortable climate out there, yet penguins are all over. Got the flightless cormorants, tortoises, frigate birds, and the reason they're called that is because they're pirate birds. They don't look for food themselves, they harass other birds and steal it from them. Sea lions, flora, and more. Like I said, you can get up close and personal to the wildlife that exists there. The sea lions are never everywhere. They'll come right up next to you. They're unique. The iguanas, they're everywhere. And you have to be very careful, step over them, because they aren't going to move. You have to step around them, particularly in the morning, because in the morning they're out sunbathing, they're trying to build up some of their heat. They'll be a little bit more active in the afternoon, but you have to get out of their way. As a side note, one lady had not gotten off the ship for several days, and finally she decided she was going to go see one of them. And as we're getting off the Zodiac, I made the comment, I said, wow, look at all these iguanas. I think these are the man-eating ones. She about panicked and had a heart attack right there, and I had to tell her I was just kidding. They're just normal land iguanas. But like I said, they are on all the islands just about in some form or another. Not the marine ones, the land ones. And they are unique too, colorful, and again, they are very curious, and they'll get right up next to you. They hang out on the rocks, obviously, for sunbathing. They're everywhere. And I saw the only natural predator that I saw were the hawks. So it doesn't seem to be that they're threatened for their existence whatsoever. And they're not, of course, not afraid of man, like I said. I was given the opportunity. We went snorkeling several times, and you see all sorts of wildlife there: stingrays, tortoises, etc. One of the it's just beautiful. Anybody that's been diving or snorkeling knows that wildlife is just spectacular that you can see. I thought it was fascinating watching the sea tortoises underneath swim by. I also got surprised by a sea lion. The sea lions are very playful out there. This guy right here went zooming by me, and I just barely snapped this photo as he shot by. They like to come up to you and blow bubbles in your face mask. So kind of get to play with these animals. You're not supposed to swim or touch them or anything like that, swim right up to them, but they will come up to you on their own. Of course, there's areas you don't want to swim. This little bay here was filled with stingrays, so it's not one of the places you wanted to really go wading in the pool in the shallows there whatsoever. Again, I can show you a million slides, but just the wildlife is right there. Mothers, birds nesting, their babies are right there too. As long as you don't get too close to the babies, the mothers, will let you get close, take pictures. This is the flightless cormorant. You can see essentially has no wings or worthless wings up there. Crabs are all over too. They're spectacular in that their coloration is just highly visible. So they're unique. You saw the one video. They're just kind of awesome to watch out there. Now you may not. This looks like I'm only taking a picture of one or two or something, but they are everywhere. Here's a rock bed, and you can see all the crabs that are nesting there. They were everywhere, and once again, didn't see any natural predators, so they seem to be prolific. Again, the sea lions like to come right up to you. They want their picture taken. This guy wanted to pose in front of the ship in the background. They're just everywhere. This guy, of course, he's having a nice leisurely day. I guess he's a Rotarian there and is listening to the guest speaker. One of the unique things that we had, and one of the islands had flamingos on there. And they are really fun to watch. I mean, I think we stood there for 30, 45 minutes just watching them as they moved around. They, danced, they sang songs and everything. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I've got a short video. Here goes. That's it. They just do a little dance. What the guy said is that they constantly were doing different types of dances out there, starting around mating dance, whatever. It was a lot of fun to watch, and they're very, very pretty too. And you can see in this picture, there's some that were up close, some all the way against the other shore. There must have been 100, 150 flamingos in this little lake. This bird right here is called the blue-footed booby. Very unique to the Galapagos Islands. Nothing special about the bird except that he's got blue feet. And you could see them several times. There's also a red-footed booby. This is the season for the blue ones. We were down there in late November. And just a pretty bird. They, again, dance around and stuff too with their little blue feet. They're just fun to watch. And you would see them flying around and on the various rock structures. It's so popular that they actually have a drink named after them called the blue-footed booby. So their claim to fame. Now, why did I take this picture? This picture here was actually used by the people stopping at the islands for mail. You would put mail in the mailbox there, and then another adventurer would come around, a ship would take and look in there, and it would see, oh, here's one for Ecuador, here's one for North America, I'm going there next. So they would pick up the mail. It's not used for mail anymore today, but it's used for tourists. So if you can go through the stack of mail in there and you see one for Colorado, you bring it and post it when you get back to the United States. Just kind of a unique way to see all the various visitors that have come and visited and dropped off mail. Like I said, you can't get too close to mamas when their babies are there. This particular baby was he's fairly new. They said he was probably only a week old, so he hadn't quite mastered the rocks. And while we watched him, he fell into the water. And Daddy was off to the left there, and he starts bellowing and roaring and yelling, telling Mama to go get the baby. So Mama had to go in and hoist the baby up, pushing it with her nose and everything until the baby could crawl back out onto the rocks. So it was interesting to watch. This little fellow, we were on the boat, like I said, checking the island out. That's when we saw the sea lion and everything else. He followed us for probably a good 45 minutes, right in our wake, just traipsed along alongside the boat several times. I mean, we could have reached out and touched him if we wanted to. And like I said, because of the colder waters, here's the penguins. They are particularly focused on one island down there, but because of the cold water. But we saw lots of them just hanging out, and fishing and everything. Of course, here's the finch that made Darwin develop microevolution theory, and that is, the change in the beak size. Just like I said, all these slides are just the variety of life that exists down there. Did see a hawk, like I said, it seemed to be the natural predator to the iguanas and some of the other animals out there. Not a whole lot of them. I was surprised that there weren't more hawks. This particular one, again, posed in front of the ship, and you can see the celebrity flora in the background, but the zodiac's there to the left. This guy, hawk, we watched him catch a particular snake, and that was his dinner. So, again, lots of wildlife, just really lots of flora too to see. The various marine animals out there, they are very happy with the food and everything that they've got. You can actually get them to smile. I just asked this guy if I could take his picture, and he smiled for me. The other thing too is around, several of the islands, there are the tortoises that are there, swimming around. They would swim up right next to the boat. We saw lots of them alongside the boat. It's kind of hard to get a picture because of the reflection in the water, but you can see the tortoise there. Again, I took this picture because the guy up front there trying to, observe everything out there. Now this is the frigate bird. I told you, this is the male, and he's just, sitting there watching things, and they've got that unique red gold throat or everything that puffs up. Sometimes they fly with it that way, and sometimes they retract it, whatever. Just a very unique bird. We ended the very last couple days. We went to the main island, which is the one where most people live, and this is where a lot of the wild tortoises exist, and there are a protected species there. They are taken care of. There is a natural animal preserve there to watch the wildlife and the tortoises and make sure that they continue to be protected. They are, like I said, a protected animal, so consequently they are on the roads and other places, and if you hit one, I think it's like a $3,000 fine. I can't remember. But they do not want you killing any of the tortoises. So I asked the bus driver, because we had to sit there and wait because one was right in the middle of the road, hey, why can't we go out there and pick it up? And he said, well, generally they weigh from 300 to 600 pounds. So you're not going to move it, and generally if you did move it and you got several people to move it, as soon as you go up a step away, they're going to move right back to the same spot. So you just kind of sit there and wait, and they slowly but surely will get out of your way. Like I said, they will also, they love pictures being taken. They like the camera shots. This guy I told a joke to, and he's even laughing. It's pretty neat seeing all these things. And here was another reserve that we were at. Turtles everywhere. You can only see maybe a half a dozen right here, but they were scattered everywhere. One thing that we got to do, and this is, celebrity does this too, in order to provide for the ecosystem down there, we planted a tree. Every single person got to plant a tree. You can go online and check the status of the tree. They have a couple cameras that will show the general area, but they're trying to restore some of the native vegetation out there. And finally, the sunsets were totally amazing. Just the way the environment is down there. We had beautiful days, and the sunsets were fun to watch. This is the small crew that we had on board the ship, and it was a fascinating experience. We enjoyed it immensely. And then when we left out of Quito again. there at the airport, we see the big rotary symbol. I don't know what they did to the airport or what they provided, but Rotarian symbol is certainly there and prominent. Side note, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I just don't want to waste everybody's time, but I want to tell you that Quito is an amazing city. It's high elevation, so it's very moderate climate. It's absolutely beautiful. Ecuador is unique too, because they've got the Amazon rainforest. They've got Quito. It's a very thriving city with lots of landmarks. Just spectacular. You can spend all the time, several days there, just to see the various landmarks and the churches and the buildings and everything. The thing that I found fascinating, this is what I'll end with here, was that, of course, Quito is home to the equator. You can walk right along the line. That's the line that they've got for the equator. Got the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. So it's just one of those things that you go and say, I've been there, I'm on the equator. By the way, they try to get you to walk that line with your eyes closed, and because of the Coriolis effect, the centrifugal force, you can't do it. It pulls you as soon as your body goes to the right, it pulls you to the right. As soon as your body goes a little bit to the left, it pulls you to the left. Another unique thing is that I want to show you this quick little video a little bit is when you pour water.
Proof that we are indeed halfway between the North and South Poles.
So they're pouring water right on the equator. The water goes straight down, does not swirl at all. Then they move it to the south, and there you see the counterclockwise motion. And then they move it to the north too, and it goes clockwise. So it was kind of unique, just 10 feet away, and you see the Coriolis effect from the Earth's rotation. So I thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. It just was an amazing experience for us to be able to go and see the Galapagos Islands. Like I said, Ecuador was unique too. So thank you.